close your eyes. Take a deep, steady breath in and slowly let it out. Allow yourself to settle into comfort wherever you are. Tonight we begin a journey, not through the busy thoughts of the day, but through the quiet and ancient memories of the earth itself. A journey that takes us far back in time, before history was written, before animals roamed, even before the first trees touched the sky. Tonight, we ask a question as vast as time itself. What was the very first fungus like? It is easy to overlook fungi. In our everyday lives, we might think of mushrooms sprouting after the rain, of yeast that bakes our bread, or of mold growing on forgotten food. But the story of fungi is far deeper, far older, and far more mysterious than these small glimpses suggest. The history of fungi stretches back over 1 billion years, into a world that looked nothing like the one we know today. Picture the earth in those distant times. The continents we walk upon were bare, barren stone. There were no forests, no grass, no flowers swaying in the wind. The land was empty, silent, lifeless. All life clung to the oceans, vast, deep, and teeming with the beginnings of complexity. The skies were not yet filled with birds or insects. The air was heavy, and the land was still waiting for its first green coat of plants. Into this quiet, ancient earth, the first fungi began their hidden work. Fungi are strange and unique among life forms. They are not plants, though they grow from soil and sprout like blossoms. They are not animals, though they breathe oxygen and digest their food. Instead, they belong to their own ancient kingdom, a kingdom that has stood apart since the earliest chapters of life's history. Understanding fungi means entering a world of mystery, where life operates in ways both familiar and alien. The first fungi were likely very small, microscopic in size, far too tiny for the human eye to see. They did not look like the tall mushrooms we recognize today, with caps and stalks rising above the ground. Instead, they were simple, delicate organisms drifting quietly in water, spreading by releasing spores. Spores are like seeds, but far lighter, designed to float through currents, carried gently until they find a place to grow. Imagine these invisible travelers, drifting through the ancient seas, each one carrying the quiet promise of life. But why should we care about such tiny beings lost in time? Because without fungi, life as we know it might never have taken root. Fungi were not only survivors, they were builders, partners, and teachers. They helped prepare the land for plants, breaking down stone into soil. They formed partnerships with early plants, feeding them, protecting them, helping them grow strong. They recycled the dead, ensuring that nutrients returned to the cycle of life. They shaped the Earth's ecosystems long before humans ever walked upon it. And so tonight, as you rest, let us walk together into their world. Let us imagine the first fungi, drifting through oceans 1 billion years ago, unseen yet essential. Let us trace their path from invisibility to prominence, from mystery to medicine, from tiny beginnings to vast networks that connect the world's forests today. This journey will not be rushed. Like the slow spread of mycelium beneath the soil, we will move gently, steadily, pausing to notice the quiet details along the way. Each chapter will bring us closer to the origins of fungi, to their partnerships, to their resilience, and to their enduring role in life's story. As you listen, allow yourself to relax. There is no hurry. There are no demands. Only the story of Earth unfolding before you softly and calmly, as steady as your breathing. In this first chapter, think of this as the opening of a dream. We are standing at the threshold of deep time, preparing to step into landscapes that no human has ever seen, but which shaped everything we know today. The first fungus is calling us, not with noise or spectacle, but with silence, with patience, with presence. Fungi are masters of the unseen. Even today, when we see a mushroom above the soil, it is only the tip of something much larger, hidden below. Beneath forests, beneath fields, even beneath the sidewalks of cities, fungal networks spread endlessly, weaving threads of connection. These threads, called mycelium, are the true body of fungi, ancient, silent, and persistent. They are reminders that much of life's story is hidden, working quietly beneath the surface. So as you drift into rest, imagine yourself sinking below the surface of time. Imagine the earth as it was long before us. Imagine a quiet ocean, dark and deep. And in that ocean, imagine tiny spores drifting, waiting to grow. This is where our story begins. You may notice your body beginning to feel heavy, as if you too are sinking gently through water. The rhythm of your breath matches the rhythm of waves. Each inhale brings a sense of curiosity. Each exhale brings a sense of release. In this state, we are ready to explore not only the science of fungi, but also the calm wisdom they carry. Because fungi remind us of patience. They remind us that great things can grow slowly, quietly, invisibly. That even the smallest beginnings, a spore, a thread, a cell, can one day change the course of life. And so, Chapter 1 is not about answers, but about opening the door. It is about setting the scene, preparing the mind, and inviting the heart into a journey both ancient and soothing. As you rest, remember, the story of fungi is also the story of balance, of cooperation, of cycles that never end. In the chapters to come, we will dive deeper into the origins of life, into the shapes fungi have taken, into their partnerships and mysteries. But for now, let this thought carry you long before us, long before trees, long before animals. Fungi were already here, quiet, resilient, eternal. And as you close your eyes and drift deeper into relaxation, imagine that timeless presence surrounding you, soft, hidden, yet alive, a kingdom of life as old as the earth's memory itself. Take another slow breath in and let it go. Feel your body relax, heavy against the bed, as your mind begins to wander back in time. In this chapter, we arrive at a world long before the world you know today. A world so ancient, so strange, that it feels like stepping into a dream. This is the earth before forests, before animals, before even the simplest green shoots reach toward the sunlight. When we speak of the ancient earth, we are not talking about thousands of years, or even millions of years. We are speaking of billions, a span of time so immense, so vast, that the human imagination struggles to hold it. Let us try to picture it anyway. The continents as we know them had not yet taken shape. The land was raw stone, silent, lifeless, and bare. There were no trees swaying in the wind, because there were no trees yet. No flowers painted the land with color. No birds sang from branches. There was only stillness, only rock, only emptiness. And yet, Earth was not lifeless. Life had already begun its long story, but it was hidden. It lived in the oceans, those endless, dark waters that wrapped around the globe. The oceans were the cradle, the nursery, the great sanctuary of the earliest living things. The sky above was different too. Imagine looking up and seeing a sky without blue. In those early days, the atmosphere was thick, heavy, and strange. It held gases in different balances than today. Less oxygen, more carbon dioxide, and other compounds we would find difficult to breathe. The air may have been tinted with strange hues, but glowing differently under the sun's light. The sunlight itself was harsh, for the ozone layer had not yet fully formed to protect life from its rays. And yet, despite these harsh conditions, life endured. In the oceans, microscopic beings swam and drifted, tiny as dust motes in water, but alive with energy. These earliest organisms were simple, but they carried within them the spark of everything to come. Bacteria, archaea, and early eukaryotes, the ancestors of all plants, animals, and fungi, were already quietly working, multiplying, adapting. Now imagine yourself floating above this earth billions of years ago. From the vastness of space, the planet looks familiar and yet alien. Oceans glitter, but their chemical makeup is unlike our seas today. The coastlines are sharp and barren, with no greenery to soften their edges. Volcanoes burst fire into the air more often, releasing smoke and ash into the sky. Lightning crackles across stormy skies, and rains fall heavy onto rocks. It was into this harsh, ancient earth that fungi would one day appear. But before we reach them, we must pause and feel the silence of this world. Imagine walking across one of those barren lands. There is no grass beneath your feet, no birds overhead, no buzzing of insects, only the crunch of stone, the hiss of wind, and the endless waves breaking on distant shores. A stillness so deep that it might echo in your bones. And yet, hidden within the stillness, life was quietly preparing for its next steps. Within the ocean, cells experimented with new ways of living. Some learned to capture sunlight and turn it into energy. These were the ancestors of plants and algae. Others learned to feed on organic matter, breaking it down for sustenance. These were the ancestors of animals and fungi. It is important to pause here and notice something. Life does not always rush. It does not always move quickly. Sometimes life takes its time. The earth existed for billions of years before fungi appeared. That patience, that slowness, is a reminder for us too. A reminder that growth is not always immediate, and that some of the most important changes happen in silence, in stillness, unseen. So, as you breathe deeply, imagine yourself standing on the shore of an ancient sea. The waves roll in, carrying with them tiny organisms invisible to the eye, yet full of potential. Perhaps among them are the early ancestors of fungi, drifting quietly, waiting for the right moment to flourish. The land is empty now, but not forever. In time, fungi will help transform this emptiness into abundance. They will break down stone into soil. They will help plants take root. They will create the hidden networks that allow forests to rise. But all of that is still in the future. For now, we are standing in the quiet pause before that transformation. There is beauty even here in the emptiness. Imagine the sunsets of the ancient earth, painting the sky with colors no one had ever seen. Imagine the stars above, glittering through an atmosphere thinner than today, perhaps clearer, sharper. The universe stretched endlessly above as the earth turned silently below. No voices, no footsteps, no human presence, only the ancient rhythms of the planet. And so, Chapter 2 brings us into this world, a world raw and waiting, a canvas before the first brushstrokes of green. It is in this setting that the story of fungi will unfold. But tonight we do not rush ahead. We linger in this ancient landscape. We let its silence wash over us, like waves upon stone. Because to understand the first fungus, we must first understand the stage upon which it appeared. A world that seemed empty but was already alive with promise. Let your breath rise and fall, steady as the tides. Let your thoughts drift like ancient spores upon water. The earth was vast then, and it is vast now. The silence of the ancient world is still within us, waiting to be heard. As you drift deeper into calm, remember even in the emptiest moments, life is waiting. Quiet, patient, eternal. Breathe in slowly and let it out. Allow yourself to sink deeper into comfort, as though the bed beneath you were the soft soil of an ancient forest floor. Tonight, we move forward into the next part of our journey, to meet a pioneer unlike any other. A hidden pioneer, quiet and often overlooked, but one that shaped the very fabric of life on Earth. That pioneer is fungus. When we think of pioneers, we may picture explorers setting out to sea, or the first plants pushing through rocky ground. But fungi were pioneers in their own way, arriving before forests, before animals, before the beauty of flowers. They stepped into a world of stone and silence and began the slow, invisible work of change. What makes a pioneer? Perhaps it is the ability to thrive where no one else can, to live in the emptiest places and create something new. That is exactly what fungi did. Where barren rock met the ocean's edge, where rainwater seeped into cracks, fungi spread their delicate threads. Where nothing else seemed able to grow, fungi found a way. But they did not shout their presence. They did not blaze across the land like fire. Instead, fungi worked quietly, patiently, invisibly. They broke down stone into soil, one tiny particle at a time. They digested minerals and released nutrients back into the environment. Slowly, silently, they prepared the land for life to come. Imagine them now, not mushrooms rising tall, but tiny, microscopic filaments. Thin threads weaving through cracks in rocks. You might never see them with your eyes, but if you could shrink yourself down, you would find a hidden world of activity. A web of life, growing where no plant could survive, where no animal could feed. Fungi were the quiet builders of Earth's earliest ecosystems. This hidden role is something fungi carry with them even today. Even now, most of their work is invisible to us. The mushroom you see above ground is only a small part of the fungus. Beneath the soil, beneath logs, beneath leaves, lies the true body, a network of threads called mycelium. This mycelium spreads wide, breaking down matter, sharing nutrients, creating pathways of life. It was the same for their ancestors, the billions of years ago. The earliest fungi were not showy or obvious. They did not draw attention. They thrived in the shadows, in the cracks, in the unseen places. But their quiet work made everything else possible. Without fungi, the earth may never have grown green. Close your eyes and imagine the patience of such a being. A fungus does not rush. It spreads slowly, thread by thread, spore by spore. It waits for rain. It waits for food. It waits for the right conditions, and then silently it grows. There is a lesson here for us too, a reminder that great change often begins quietly, invisibly, with patience and persistence. Science tells us that fungi were among the first complex life forms to colonize land. Long before forests covered the earth, fungi were already there. They partnered with the earliest plants, sharing water and nutrients, helping them survive in harsh conditions. In return, the plants provided sugars, created from sunlight. This partnership, called symbiosis, is one of the oldest and most important in Earth's history. Think of it: every tree you see today, every field of grass, every wildflower blooming in spring, all of them owe their existence to fungi. Without fungi, plants could not have survived on land. Without plants, animals could not have followed. And without animals, humans would never have been here to wonder about it at all. The first fungus, then, was not only a pioneer in its own right. It was a guide, a partner, a helper. It showed plants how to thrive on land. It prepared the soil. It created the conditions for forests to rise and animals to roam. All of this, hidden beneath the surface, out of sight. As you breathe deeply, let yourself feel the presence of that hidden pioneer. Imagine the first threads of mycelium stretching into cracks of stone, reaching for nutrients, preparing the ground for life. Imagine how silent the world was then. No footsteps, no birds, no buzzing of insects. Only the slow spread of invisible threads, weaving life's future beneath the surface. There is comfort in knowing that such quiet beginnings can lead to such great outcomes. That the invisible can one day shape the visible. That what seems small can one day support the vast. Even today, fungi remain hidden pioneers. In forests, they connect trees into vast underground networks, allowing them to share water, nutrients, and even chemical signals. Some scientists call it the wood wide web. Through these hidden threads, a dying tree may send nutrients to younger trees. A shaded sapling may receive sugars from an older neighbor. The forest becomes a community connected by fungi, held together by this unseen pioneer. So too, the first fungus was a hidden pioneer. It did not tower above the earth. It did not roar or blaze. But it changed everything. As you drift deeper into calm, think of yourself as part of this hidden story. Like fungi, much of your own growth may happen quietly, invisibly, without fanfare. The thoughts you nurture, the patience you hold, the care you give, these are like spores, like threads of mycelium, spreading silently, preparing the way for something greater. The first fungus reminds us that we do not need to be seen to make a difference. We do not need to be loud to be important. Sometimes the most powerful forces are the quietest ones. And so, Chapter 3 draws us into the mystery of the hidden pioneer. Fungi arrived early, and they stayed. They endured, they shaped, they prepared the way, from the smallest beginnings. They created the conditions for forests, for animals, for us. Tonight, as you let go and drift into dreams, remember that there is strength in patience. There is power in quiet persistence. And like the first fungus, your presence, even unseen, carries meaning, carries change, carries life. Take another slow, steady breath. Feel your chest rise and fall. Let your body soften like soil after a gentle rain. Tonight, we continue our quiet journey backward through time, deeper into the Earth's story, to a moment even older than the first fungus, to the very origins of life itself. When we ask, what was the first fungus like? We are really asking a bigger question. How did life itself begin? To understand fungi, we must first understand the stage upon which all life was born. Billions of years ago, Earth was a restless place. Volcanoes rumbled, oceans churned, and lightning cracked across storm-filled skies. The air was thick with gases, the seas rich with minerals. It was not a gentle place, and yet it was here that life began. Scientists tell us that life first appeared at least 3.5 to 4 billion years ago. But what was it like? Not plants, not animals, not fungi. Just simple, single-celled organisms. Tiny, microscopic bubbles of life that clung to existence in the harsh conditions of the ancient Earth. Some researchers believe these earliest forms of life began near hydrothermal vents deep in the ocean. Cracks in the seafloor where hot, mineral-rich water surged into the cold sea. These vents created natural laboratories, mixing chemicals in just the right way for life to form. Imagine dark waters lit by shimmering towers of minerals, clouds of heat rising like smoke, and within them, the first spark of life. Other scientists suggest life may have begun in shallow pools on the surface, where sunlight and storms stirred up the right chemistry. Perhaps lightning struck a pond, and in that moment, molecules joined into new patterns, creating the first living cells. Wherever it began, life found a way. The earliest organisms were incredibly simple. They had no brains, no bones, no organs. They were tiny cells that could survive, divide, and pass on their structure to the next generation. And yet, within these humble cells, the seeds of all future life were planted. From these beginnings came two great lineages of life: prokaryotes, simple cells like bacteria without a nucleus; eukaryotes, more complex cells with a nucleus to store their DNA. It was within the eukaryotes that fungi, plants, and animals would one day emerge. The rise of eukaryotes was a turning point, a quiet revolution. These cells were able to cooperate, to specialize, to evolve in ways that simple bacteria could not. How did eukaryotes come to be? Many scientists believe it was through a partnership, one cell engulfing another, and instead of destroying it, they began to live together. The smaller cell provided energy, while the larger cell offered protection. Over time, this cooperation became permanent. What began as two cells became one new kind of life. There is something beautiful in that thought. The origins of complex life, including fungi, began not with competition, but with partnership. Survival was not about fighting, but about sharing. From this shared beginning, life branched outward. Some eukaryotes became the ancestors of plants, learning to use sunlight as fuel. Others became the ancestors of animals, evolving ways to move, hunt, and sense the world. And another branch, a quiet, mysterious branch, became the fungi. Fungi, then, are as old as the first animals and plants. They share the same deep ancestry, the same ancient spark. To imagine the first fungus is to imagine an organism carrying with it the echoes of those earliest moments of cooperation, survival, and growth. Now, picture the earth again in those ancient times. The land is still barren, but in the oceans invisible communities are forming. Cells are clustering together, trading energy, passing signals, creating networks. Somewhere among them, the first fungal ancestors are taking shape. They are tiny, delicate, perhaps floating in the water like invisible dust. They are experimenting with ways to feed, breaking down organic matter instead of making food from sunlight. This choice, to be decomposers, to recycle what is dead, would define fungi forever. Even in their earliest forms, fungi carried a unique role. Not creators of energy like plants, not consumers like animals, but recyclers. Their task was to break things down, to transform what was dead into life again. In this way, fungi became part of the Earth's great cycle, a role they still hold today. Pause for a moment and consider how remarkable this is. The very origins of fungi are tied to transformation, to turning endings into beginnings. Where there was waste, they created opportunity. Where there was decay, they created nourishment. Even at the dawn of life, fungi were already teachers of renewal. As you rest, let this thought sink in. Your body, too, is part of this same cycle. Every breath you take, every cell that divides within you, is part of an unbroken chain stretching back to those first sparks of life. You are made of atoms, once part of stars, once part of oceans, once part of the first living cells. The story of fungi is also your story, because all life is woven together. The origins of life remind us that beginnings can come from the most unexpected places. From vents at the bottom of the sea, from storms striking empty ponds, from one cell swallowing another, and learning to live together. These unlikely beginnings gave rise to everything we know. And so, when we ask, what was the first fungus like? We see that it was not just a lone organism. It was part of a much larger story. The story of life itself, unfolding across billions of years, step by tiny step. As you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself floating back through this vast ocean of time. Picture yourself as a tiny spark of life, drifting in the currents, surrounded by billions of microscopic neighbors. You are small, but you are part of something eternal. You carry within you the memory of beginnings. Tonight, let your breath be like the rhythm of those early waves. Gentle, steady, unhurried. Let the vastness of time wash over you, calming your mind, softening your thoughts. The origins of life are not just history. They are the pulse of existence that still beats within you now. Take a slow, deep breath in and release it gently. Feel the weight of the day melting away as your mind drifts back into deep time. Tonight, we move closer to our quiet subject, the very first fungi. To find them, we must look not at towering mushrooms, but at something much smaller, something invisible to the naked eye, something microscopic. When we think of fungi today, most of us imagine mushrooms, caps rising from forest floors, colorful and strange, like tiny umbrellas sprouting after the rain. But the truth is that mushrooms are only the fruit of the fungus. They are the visible tip of something much larger and much older. Beneath them lies the mycelium, the endless threads that weave through soil and stone. And if we travel further back in time, long before mushrooms existed, we find ancestors even more hidden fungi that were entirely microscopic. Picture the ancient earth again about 1 billion years ago. The land is barren, the skies heavy, the seas alive with microscopic beings. Among them are the ancestors of fungi. They are not yet mushrooms, not yet vast underground webs. They are tiny, fragile, single-celled organisms drifting in the water, multiplying quietly, living unseen. These first fungi were likely similar to chytrids, the simplest type of fungi alive today. Chytrids are mostly microscopic. Some are single-celled, others form only the thinnest of filaments. They live in water or damp environments, feeding on decaying matter. Some even grow tiny whip-like tails, which allow them to swim through water. They are small, delicate, and ancient, perhaps echoes of the very first fungi. Imagine them floating invisibly in pools and oceans, like flecks of dust dancing in a beam of light. They feed not by photosynthesis like plants, but by breaking down organic molecules. They absorb nourishment from what is already there. It is a quiet way of life, humble but essential. These microscopic ancestors may not seem impressive. They had no stalks, no caps, no spores rising high into the air. But they carried within them the blueprint of what was to come. They were the beginning of a kingdom of life that would one day shape forests, feed civilizations, and connect ecosystems. The beauty of these ancestors lies in their invisibility. So much of life begins where we cannot see it, a seed buried in soil, a thought resting deep in the mind, a spore drifting through the air waiting to land. The first fungi remind us that beginnings are often hidden, quiet, and easily overlooked. Scientists studying the fossil record have found traces of fungi, like organisms stretching back nearly 1 billion years. One of the earliest discoveries comes from tiny microfossils in Canada and Scotland, thought to be fungal filaments more than 900 million years old. Imagine that, a thread of life so small, preserved in rock for almost 1 billion years, whispering to us about the past. These microscopic ancestors did not live glamorous lives. They were not predators like animals, chasing prey. They were not tall like plants, reaching toward the sun. They were recyclers, decomposers. Their role was to break down the dead and transform it into the living. And though it may sound humble, this role was one of the most important on Earth. Without them, nutrients would have been trapped. Life would have stalled. The cycle would have stopped. Even today, fungi perform this same work. When leaves fall in autumn, fungi break them down. When a tree dies, fungi digest its wood. When an animal passes, fungi help return it to the soil. In every corner of the earth, fungi quietly ensure that life continues. This is the inheritance of their microscopic ancestors, the role that has defined them since the beginning. Close your eyes and picture those early fungi now. Imagine a drop of ancient water held in the palm of your hand. Inside that drop, invisible to your eyes, are countless tiny organisms. Some bacteria, some algae, some of the earliest fungi. They drift, divide, and spread. They are so small, yet they carry within them the story of everything that will come after. If you listen closely, you may even feel the message they carry, that greatness often begins in smallness, that what is invisible can still shape the visible, that even the tiniest, most overlooked beings can change the world. The first fungi were patient. They did not rush. They spread slowly, thread by thread, spore by spore. They adapted, survived, and endured. They were not glamorous, but they were persistent. And in persistence there is power. Some scientists wonder if fungi's microscopic ancestors played a role in the Earth's earliest ecosystems long before plants. Perhaps they clung to the edges of rocks, breaking down minerals and helping to create the first thin layers of soil. Perhaps they lived in symbiosis with algae, forming early versions of lichens, partnerships that could survive where nothing else could. If so, then fungi were not only survivors, but builders. They laid the groundwork for all other life to flourish. This idea carries a quiet wisdom. Life does not always need to be large to be important. Sometimes, the tiniest threads are the ones that hold the fabric of existence together. As you breathe gently now, let yourself feel that truth in your own life. You do not always need to be seen to matter. The quiet moments, the small actions, the invisible patience, they too shape the world. Just like the microscopic ancestors of fungi, your smallest efforts carry meaning. The story of fungi's ancestors is a story of hidden power. They were tiny, but they endured. They were invisible, but they prepared the way for forests, for animals, for us. From their patient persistence, the future unfolded. And so, Chapter 5 closes with a simple thought. The first fungi were not grand, but they were vital. They remind us that beginnings are often small, hidden, and humble. But from those beginnings, great and lasting things can grow. As you drift into sleep, imagine those microscopic ancestors drifting too, in ancient seas, in tiny droplets and cracks of stone. They were quiet, patient pioneers, and because of them, the world became what it is today. Take another slow, steady breath. Feel the air flow in and gently out. Let your body grow heavier, as if you were sinking into soft moss on a quiet forest floor. In this chapter, we explore one of the greatest inventions of fungi, the spore. A creation so tiny, so light, yet so powerful that it has carried fungi through more than 1 billion years of history. When we think of seeds, we think of plants, and a corn that grows into an oak, or a grain of wheat that becomes a field of golden harvest. But fungi do not make seeds, they make spores. Spores are smaller than seeds, lighter than dust, invisible to the human eye, and yet they hold the same potential for life. Imagine for a moment a spore drifting in the air. It is so small you cannot see it. Millions could float past you in a single breath, and you would never notice. But inside that tiny particle lies a complete blueprint of life. If it lands in the right place, a damp crack in stone, a pool of water, a patch of soil, it can awaken, sprout delicate filaments, and grow into a new fungus. This was how the first fungus spread. Long before forests, long before the green carpets of moss, spores were already drifting. They traveled on winds that swept across barren landscapes. They settled into oceans and lakes. They clung to rocks, waiting for rain. Each spore was a silent traveler, carrying the possibility of life across the empty earth. Close your eyes and imagine yourself watching this ancient world. The land is bare, the seas are wide. But in the air above, invisible to your eyes, spores are floating, countless, endless, patient. They drift without haste, carried by breezes, falling slowly like the softest snow you can't see. The first spores were simple, but they were strong. They could survive harsh conditions, dryness, heat, even long periods of waiting. A spore could remain dormant for years, even centuries, until the right conditions arrived. Then, like a sleeper awakening, it would burst into life. There is wisdom in this. The spore teaches us that waiting is not wasted time. It is preparation. Just as spores wait for rain, we too sometimes wait for the right moment to act, to grow, to unfold. Patience is not weakness, it is resilience. Scientists studying modern fungi have discovered that spores can travel incredible distances. Some spores rise high into the atmosphere, carried by wind currents around the globe. Others float across oceans. A single mushroom can release billions of spores, filling the air with invisible potential. If even one of those spores finds a home, the fungus continues. Now imagine the first fungi, hundreds of millions of years ago, releasing their spores into an ancient sea. The spores drift outwards, invisible ships in a vast and silent ocean. Some perish, lost to the waves, but others find cracks, stones, and sediments where they take hold. Slowly, thread by thread, they grow, spreading new networks of life. It is almost like a dream, spores drifting endlessly, carried by currents of air and water, waiting for the chance to awaken. A reminder that life spreads not with force, but with patience and persistence. Today, spores still surround us. In every breath you take, you inhale a few fungal spores. They drift through your home, your garden, your forests. They rest on every surface. They are always there waiting. Most do no harm, some even help, and a few will one day grow into mushrooms. It is as if the air itself carries the memory of fungi's ancient journey. The first spores were not just survival tools. They were a way of connecting fungi to the wider world. Without spores, fungi would have remained trapped in one place, limited, fragile. But with spores, fungi became explorers. They could travel far across oceans, across lands, across time. They became part of the Earth's great rhythm of movement and change. As you rest now, imagine yourself as a spore, light as air, drifting gently on the breeze. You do not struggle, you simply float. The wind carries you, the world supports you. You are patient, waiting for the right place to grow. There is no hurry, no pressure. Only trust, only time. There is something deeply calming in this image. To be as a spore is to surrender control, to trust that the world will carry you where you need to be. To wait, to rest, and to know that your time will come. Fossil evidence tells us that spores existed hundreds of millions of years ago. Tiny, round, durable shapes have been found preserved in ancient rock, whispering of a time when fungi were among the earliest pioneers of land. These fossils are so small that only under a microscope can they be seen. And yet, they are powerful reminders that the smallest traces of life can last across eternity. In a way, spores are like dreams. They are small, fleeting, fragile, yet filled with infinite possibility. Each one contains a world inside it waiting to unfold. Each one is a story not yet told. And so Chapter 6 teaches us that fungi's power lies not only in what we see, but in what we cannot. That the air around us is filled with invisible life. That beginnings can drift, wait, and awaken when the time is right. As you breathe slowly now, imagine countless spores drifting in the air around you, harmless and gentle, like invisible snow. Imagine them waiting, patient and quiet, for the right conditions to grow. And as you picture this, allow yourself to rest in that same patience. You too can wait. You too can grow in your own time. The first spores were not grand or visible, but they carried within them the promise of forests, of ecosystems, of life as we know it. From their tiny beginnings, the earth was transformed. So as you drift deeper into sleep, let this thought settle over you. Sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest potential. Sometimes what is unseen holds the greatest power. And sometimes, like the spores of fungi, we need only to trust the journey and wait for the moment to awaken. Take a deep breath in and let it go slowly. Feel your body sink deeper into rest, your mind floating gently like a leaf on quiet water. Tonight, we move into a chapter about one of the most beautiful truths in the history of life, that survival often depends on partnership. For billions of years, the Earth's land was barren. Rock stretched endlessly, broken only by dust and the slow carving of rivers. Life thrived in the oceans, but the land remained empty, waiting. Then, something extraordinary happened. Plants began to move onto land. Tiny, fragile, green pioneers. But they did not do it alone. They had help. And their helpers were fungi. Imagine the first plants struggling to survive on the rocky ground. Without soil, there was little for their roots to grip. Without rich nutrients, their leaves could not flourish. Without protection, the harsh conditions of early Earth would have overwhelmed them. And yet, these plants had companions hidden in the shadows. Fungi wrapped around their roots, sharing water, minerals, and strength. This partnership, called mycorrhiza, is one of the oldest and most essential in Earth's history. It means fungus root. In this ancient relationship, fungi acted as guides and supporters. Their thin filaments spread into the soil, reaching farther than plant roots ever could, drawing up nutrients and water. In return, the plants shared sugars created through sunlight. It was a trade. But more than that, it was cooperation. Close your eyes and imagine it, a tiny, delicate plant, reaching upward toward the sunlight, while around its roots, invisible threads of fungus spread outward like a web, gathering what the plant needs to live. Neither could have survived alone. Together they thrived. Science tells us that this partnership began more than 400 million years ago, perhaps even earlier. Fossils show traces of fungi living inside ancient plant tissues, proof that this bond is as old as land plants themselves. From the very beginning, fungi and plants walk side by side, shaping the green world together. And the truth is, they still do. Even today. Most plants depend on fungi, forests, fields. Even the flowers in your garden, All of them are supported by fungal partners beneath the soil. Some scientists believe that up to 90% of plant species form partnerships with fungi. Without fungi, the green world we know would collapse. This is a humbling thought. When we walk through a forest, we see towering trees and blooming flowers. But beneath our feet lies an invisible world of fungi, supporting them, feeding them, connecting them. The forest you see above ground is only half the story. The other half lies hidden in the soil, in the roots, in the quiet embrace of fungal partnerships. The first partnerships were likely simple. A fungus living close to a plant root shared nutrients. But over millions of years, these bonds deepened. Some fungi even moved inside plant cells, weaving themselves into the very tissues of their hosts. Plants and fungi became so closely tied that their survival was no longer separate. They needed each other. There is beauty in this. Life on Earth is not built on competition alone, as we are often told. It is also built on cooperation. The rise of plants on land, one of the greatest transformations in Earth's history, was only possible because of their quiet fungal partners. As you breathe slowly now, imagine that partnership beneath your feet. Picture an ancient Earth, where the first green shoots push through cracks in stone. Around their roots, delicate fungal threads spread outward, drawing in minerals. Sharing them generously, the plant offers sugars in return. The cycle continues, a balance is kept. Together they survive. This ancient partnership holds a lesson for us too. That strength is not always found in standing alone. Sometimes it is found in reaching out and sharing, in working together. Just as plants and fungi shared what they had, we too can thrive by building connections, by supporting and being supported. Modern science shows us that these partnerships go even deeper than we once thought. Through their underground networks, fungi can connect entire forests. Linking one tree to another, nutrients can flow from an old tree to a young sapling. Warnings about pests can pass from root to root. The forest becomes a community, a living web made possible by fungi. But remember, this grand network began with the first small partnerships hundreds of millions of years ago. Tiny plants, fragile and new, finding strength in fungal threads. From those quiet beginnings grew the forests, meadows, and gardens we know today. So as you rest, let this thought settle in your mind. You are surrounded by partnerships, both seen and unseen. In your own life too, there are threads of connection. Friends, family, communities, that give you strength. Just as fungi support plants, you are supported by the relationships around you, and in turn you support others. Life is not a solitary journey, it is a web of connection. The first partnerships between plants and fungi remind us that cooperation is not weakness. It is wisdom, it is survival. It is life finding balance, harmony, and beauty. As Chapter 7 draws to a close, picture yourself walking through a primeval landscape. The air is heavy, the sky dim. At your feet, small plants push through stone. Around their roots, unseen but essential, fungi stretch their delicate threads, wrapping them in support. This is the beginning of green life on land. This is the first partnership, quiet, ancient, and eternal. Let that image carry you deeper into rest. Feel yourself connected, supported, held by the invisible threads of life. Just like the first plants and fungi, you are never truly alone. You are part of something larger, something timeless, something shared. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. Feel your body growing heavier, your thoughts softer, as we return to the story of Earth's beginnings. Tonight, we explore one of the most important and overlooked roles in the history of life, the making of soil. When we walk through forests today, we rarely think about the ground beneath us. We see rich, dark earth. We see fallen leaves breaking down into humus. We see soil teeming with worms, insects, roots, and fungi. But in the earliest days of Earth, this fertile soil did not exist. The land was bare stone, hard, harsh. For plants to grow, for animals to follow, the earth first needed a soft bed of soil. And who were the builders of that soil? The fungi. Imagine standing on the edge of one of those early continents, hundreds of millions of years ago. Before you stretches a rocky plain, lifeless and silent. The wind whips across it carrying dust. The rain falls, pooling in cracks, but nothing grows. And yet, if you could look closer, closer than the human eye can see, you would find the beginnings of change. Tiny threads of fungi, the earliest mycelium, were weaving through cracks in the rock. They were secreting acids, slowly breaking down minerals. They were digesting whatever organic matter the oceans had washed up, microscopic remains of ancient life. Bit by bit, they were turning stone into soil. This process was not fast, it was not dramatic, it was patient, taking millions of years. But that patience was powerful. Over time, thin layers of soil began to form, just enough for mosses, lichens, and tiny plants to take hold. And once plants arrived, they partnered with fungi, deepening the process. Roots and mycelium together broke down stone, recycled nutrients, and built the foundation of ecosystems. Close your eyes and picture it, a rocky surface, empty and still. Slowly, cracks spread across the stone. In those cracks, invisible threads of fungi grow, wending their way deeper. The fungi release chemicals that dissolve minerals, pulling nutrients from the rock. As the fungus grows, it leaves behind fragments, particles, and organic matter. Grain by grain, soil is born. This quiet act of transformation changed everything. Without soil, there could be no forests, no fields, no food. Without soil, life on land would have remained impossible. Fungi were the earth's original gardeners, preparing the land for all that followed. Even today, fungi remain the great builders and recyclers of soil. Every autumn, when leaves fall, fungi break them down into nutrients. When a tree dies, fungi digest its wood and return its minerals to the earth. When animals pass, fungi ensure their bodies become part of the soil again. They are the keepers of cycles, ensuring that nothing is wasted, that life continues. Scientists studying ancient fossils have found evidence of fungi dating back more than 900 million years, long before complex plants. Some of these early fungi may have partnered with cyanobacteria or algae to form lichens, simple but resilient organisms that still grow on rocks today. If you have ever seen a patch of pale green lichen clinging to a stone, you have seen a living descendant of these early soil builders. There is a quiet wisdom in this story. The earth did not become fertile overnight. It was not a sudden transformation. It was slow, patient, invisible. Stone became soil not through explosions, but through persistence. Grain by grain, fungi worked their magic, and over millions of years, the barren world became a place where forests could rise. This teaches us something profound. Great change does not always happen quickly. Sometimes, the most important transformations are the slowest ones. Just as fungi built soil over oons, so too do we build the soil of our own lives. Layer by layer, experience by experience, small actions shaping who we are. As you breathe deeply now, imagine yourself walking across the surface of that ancient world. Beneath your feet, invisible fungi are weaving through stone, breaking it down, creating the first fragile soils. You cannot see them, but you can feel their work, the slow, patient hum of life preparing the way. And as you picture this, let yourself feel reassured, even in your own life, when progress feels slow. When change seems invisible, know that something is happening beneath the surface. You too are building the soil of your future, quietly, patiently, layer by layer. Modern science shows us that soils today hold vast fungal networks. In just one handful of healthy soil, there may be miles of fungal threads, too fine to see with the naked eye. These threads bind the soil together, carry nutrients, and sustain life. The same process that began billions of years ago continues today, beneath your very feet. Think of a forest floor after rain, soft, dark earth filled with mushrooms sprouting. That richness exists only because fungi have worked there for millennia. Think of a field of crops feeding entire communities. Without fungi breaking down matter, enriching soil, such abundance would be impossible. Fungi are the quiet farmers of the earth, unseen but essential. As this chapter draws to a close, hold this image in your mind, a bare stone transformed into fertile earth. It is a story of patience, of persistence, of invisible power. It is the story of fungi as the builders of soil. Let that thought soothe you as you drift deeper into rest. You are lying now on the product of their work, the earth's soft ground, prepared over eons by unseen hands. Beneath every forest, every field, every garden, the builders of soil are still at work, quietly sustaining the world. Sleep peacefully, knowing that life is always being renewed, that soil is always being built, and that even the smallest, slowest changes can shape the future of everything. Breathe in deeply, and let your breath drift out like a breeze through leaves. Feel the softness of the pillow beneath your head, as if you were resting on moss at the edge of an ancient woodland. Tonight we arrive at a turning point in the history of Earth, the birth of forests. For millions of years, the land had been bare, nothing but stone and dust. Then, slowly, plants began to rise, small at first, mosses and liverworts clinging to the dampness of early soils. Their tiny green bodies stretched upward, fragile but determined. With the help of fungi, they survived, and together, they began to cover the barren earth with life. But this was only the beginning. Over time, plants grew larger, stronger, more complex. Their stems thickened, their roots dug deeper, their leaves spread wider, and as they flourished, they called forth something new, the first ancient forests. Imagine walking into one of these primeval woodlands, more than 3 or 50 million years ago, during the Devonian and Carboniferous periods. The air is thick and warm, heavy with moisture. All around you rise towering plants, unlike anything alive today. Some look like giant ferns, with fronds spreading overhead like umbrellas. Others are lycophytes and horsetails, growing as tall as buildings, their trunks striped and ridged. There are no flowers yet, no birds, no buzzing bees. The soundscape is different. Perhaps the only noises are the trickle of water, the rustling of giant leaves, and the quiet drip of rain from canopy to ground. And beneath your feet, hidden in the soil, fungi are at work, partnering with roots, recycling fallen matter, ensuring the cycle of life continues. These forests were extraordinary. For the first time in Earth's history, the land was shaded, cooled, and filled with the green architecture of plants. Their roots stabilized the soil. Their leaves captured sunlight. Their towering forms created shelter for future creatures to come. And at the heart of it all were fungi, the silent companions of plants. Without fungi, those great forests might never have stood. Mycorrhizal fungi reached into the soil, drawing out water and minerals, feeding the giant trees. Decomposer fungi broke down fallen trunks and leaves, returning nutrients to the earth. They were the unseen caretakers, the hidden keepers of balance. Close your eyes and imagine the forest floor. The ground is damp and rich, covered with decaying leaves. Strange mushrooms, unlike any you've seen, rise from the soil. Their forms are alien, their shapes experimental, for evolution was still playing, still discovering. Beneath them, endless networks of mycelium weave through the earth, linking tree to tree, recycling death into life. The impact of these ancient forests was enormous. As plants spread and grew tall, they began to change the atmosphere itself. They pulled carbon dioxide from the air, using it to build their trunks and leaves. Oxygen levels rose, reshaping the very breath of the planet. The Earth's climate cooled, and ecosystems transformed. In time, these forests would give rise to coal, the dark rock we still burn today. Each seam of coal beneath the earth is a memory of those ancient forests, compressed over millions of years, carrying the imprint of plants and fungi that once thrived together. But in their own time, these forests were not fuel. They were sanctuaries. They were worlds within worlds. Small arthropods crawled across the forest floor. Early insects fluttered among ferns. Amphibians slithered near streams. Life was expanding into new spaces, filling the shelter of trees. And beneath it all, fungi were quietly ensuring that the cycle of life endured. The forests of today are different, filled with flowering plants, colorful blossoms, birds, and mammals. But they are built upon the foundation laid by those first forests. The green canopy above us, the soil beneath our feet, the rich ecosystems around us, all are descendants of that ancient experiment in growth, and the role of fungi has never changed. Then as now, they were builders, recyclers, partners. They broke down the fallen giants, turning their bodies into food for the next generation. They partnered with roots, ensuring the flow of life between soil and leaf. They connected the forest into a single living network. As you breathe slowly now, imagine yourself lying on the forest floor of that ancient time. The air is warm and moist. Towering plants rise above you, their leaves casting deep shade. The scent of damp earth and decay fills the air. Beneath you, unseen but everywhere, fungi stretch their threads, binding soil, feeding roots, recycling the forest's gifts. This is the rhythm of life: growth, decay, renewal. The first forests were proof of it, and fungi were its keepers. There is a lesson here for us too. that growth requires support. That tall trees only rise because of what lies beneath them, that nothing exists in isolation. Everything is part of a cycle, a network, a community. Even now, when you walk into a modern forest, you are stepping into this ancient story. The towering trees above you are alive because of the invisible fungi beneath you. Every leaf that falls, every trunk that decays, every flower that blooms, all of it depends on the same partnership that began hundreds of millions of years ago. So as you drift deeper into relaxation, let the image of an ancient forest fill your mind. Picture the towering trunks, the giant ferns, the endless canopy. Hear the dripping of water, the rustle of fronds. And beneath it all, feel the steady, invisible hum of fungi at work, recycling, connecting, sustaining. This is the gift of Chapter 9, the memory of ancient forests, born from partnerships between plants and fungi, shaping the earth forever. As you fall into sleep, know that you too are part of this cycle. You breathe the oxygen those forests once created. You walk on soils built by fungi. You live in a world shaped by their patient work. And just like the first forests, your own growth is supported by unseen networks of love, of memory, of connection. Take a deep, steady breath, let it out slowly, and allow yourself to feel the weight of time itself. Tonight, we step back and reflect on the sheer scale of the fungal story. Not just decades, not just centuries, but a legacy that stretches across 1 billion years. When you think of 1 billion years, it feels almost impossible to grasp. Human history, with all its empires and inventions, is only a few thousand years old. Even the age of our species, Homo sapiens, is no more than about 300,000 years. Compared to that, 1 billion years is vast beyond imagination. And yet, fungi have walked that path. They have endured storms, ice ages, extinctions, and shifting continents. Through it all, they have persisted. Close your eyes and picture it, the Earth 1 billion years ago. Oceans cover much of the planet. The land is bare, silent stone. And yet, in the hidden corners of that world, microscopic fungi are already at work. They spread their spores, weave their threads, and break down what little organic matter they find. They are patient. They are steady. They are eternal. This is the beginning of their billion-year legacy. Over the ages, fungi have been present for every great turning point in Earth's story. When the first plants ventured onto land, fungi were there, guiding and supporting them. When the first forests rose, fungi fed their roots and recycled their leaves. When animals emerged from the seas to walk on land, fungi had already prepared the soil they would walk upon. Even during times of disaster, fungi endured. 66 million years ago, when the asteroid struck Earth and the age of dinosaurs ended, forests burned and skies darkened. Plants withered, animals died, but fungi, feeding on decay, thrived. Fossil records show that in the aftermath of that catastrophe, fungal spores covered the Earth. Where death reigned, fungi brought renewal. They are survivors, capable of thriving even in the darkest times. There is something deeply comforting in this truth. Fungi are not fragile. They are resilient. They remind us that even in endings, there are new beginnings. Even when life seems broken, something quiet and patient is already working to restore balance. The billion-year legacy of fungi is not just about survival, but also about connection. Across time, fungi have woven themselves into the story of every living thing. They partner with plants. They nourish animals. They recycle the dead. They produce medicines like penicillin, which save human lives. They create foods like bread, beer, and cheese, which sustain us. Their story is intertwined with ours, as it is with all of Earth. As you breathe gently now, think of the vastness of this legacy. Imagine time flowing past you like a river. First a trickle, then a flood, then an endless stream. Through every twist and turn, fungi are there, quietly shaping the current of life. 1 billion years also teaches us humility. Our lives may feel long to us, but they are brief in comparison. Each human lifetime is a blink of an eye in Earth's history, and yet we are part of this greater story, carried by the work of those who came before. The soil beneath us, the oxygen we breathe, the food we eat, all are gifts shaped by fungi's ancient legacy. It is easy to overlook them, to think of fungi as small, unimportant things. But when we step back, we see the truth. Fungi are one of the great kingdoms of life, as old and enduring as any. They are builders of ecosystems, shapers of atmospheres, and keepers of balance. Their billion-year legacy is written not in monuments or machines, but in forests, soils, and the cycles of life itself. Now imagine yourself as a traveler moving through time. You walk across the empty stone of the ancient earth. You pass through the first green mosses, the rising of forests, the crawling of insects, the thunder of dinosaurs, the bloom of flowers, the flight of birds. And through it all, you sense the presence of fungi, unseen but always there, beneath your feet, around roots, recycling, connecting, enduring. There is peace in knowing that some things are eternal, that long before us, fungi thrived, and long after us, they will continue. They are not bound by our short histories, our fleeting moments. They are part of the Earth's deep time, steady and resilient. As you drift deeper into calm, imagine that billion-year legacy flowing through you. Every cell in your body is connected to that story. The food you eat, the air you breathe, the ground you walk upon, all bear the mark of fungi's patient work. Their legacy is not separate from you, it is part of you. And so Chapter 10 reminds us that life is vast, ancient, and interconnected. That survival is not just about strength, but about persistence. That the quiet work of fungi, stretched across 1 billion years, has shaped the world we know. As you rest now, let this vastness comfort you. The worries of today are brief, fleeting, small compared to the endless patience of life itself. Just as fungi endure, so too will you endure. You are part of 1 billion-year story, one that will continue to unfold long after this moment. Close your eyes and let the image of deep time surround you. Oceans rising and falling, forests growing and fading, creatures appearing and vanishing, and through it all fungi remain, silent, steady, eternal. The billion-year legacy of life's hidden kingdom. Take a slow, gentle breath in, and let it drift out like mist over a quiet meadow. Let your body feel heavy and safe, your thoughts softening as we step into another secret of fungi. Tonight, we explore their strange identity, creatures that are neither plants nor animals, but something entirely their own. When most of us look at a mushroom, we assume it is a kind of plant. After all, it grows from the ground, it stays rooted in place, and it often appears among trees and grasses. It seems natural to think of fungi as part of the plant world, but appearances can be deceiving. Fungi are not plants. They do not make food from sunlight as plants do. They do not grow green leaves, for they have no chlorophyll. They cannot live on light alone. Instead, fungi absorb their food, breaking down other materials, wood, soil, even stone. This makes them very different from plants. Perhaps then, fungi are animals. After all, like animals, fungi must eat other things to survive. They breathe oxygen just as we do. They even store energy in the form of glycogen, just like animals. But fungi are not animals either. They do not walk or swim. They do not have muscles or nervous systems. They belong to a world between worlds. Close your eyes and imagine this. On one side, you see the green kingdom of plants, stretching toward the sun, their leaves shimmering with life. On the other side, you see the kingdom of animals, moving, feeding, sensing, alive with energy. And in the middle, there is a quiet kingdom of fungi. Not quite one, not quite the other, but something mysterious and unique. Scientists classify fungi as their own kingdom of life, separate from both plants and animals. And what is fascinating is that, in many ways, fungi are actually closer to animals than to plants. Their cells share more similarities with ours than with the trees they grow beside. When we trace the branches of evolution, fungi and animals split from a common ancestor hundreds of millions of years ago, while plants followed a separate path. This means that the mushroom in a forest is, in a strange way, more closely related to you than to the tree it grows beside. A surprising thought, but true. Picture a quiet woodland scene. A tall oak tree rises toward the sky. Beside its roots, a mushroom emerges from the soil. At first glance, the mushroom seems like part of the plant's world, but hidden in its very cells, in its DNA, is a closer kinship to you, the observer, than to the tree that shades it. There is something humbling in this. Fungi remind us that life does not always fit into neat boxes. The boundaries we draw, plant, animal, fungus, are convenient labels. But in truth, life is a continuum, a web of connection. The first people to study fungi often struggled to categorize them. For centuries, fungi were thought to be unusual plants, strange growths without leaves or flowers. Only with modern science did we realize the truth, that fungi are their own kingdom, as vast and ancient as the others. And vast they are. The kingdom of fungi contains millions of species, perhaps as many as 6 million, though only a fraction have been discovered. They range from single-celled yeast to giant networks of mycelium stretching across forests. Some are tiny and fragile, others immense and resilient. They live in oceans, deserts, mountains, and even within our own bodies. They are everywhere, quietly reminding us that the world is more mysterious than we imagine. Think of yeast, for example, microscopic fungi that help bread rise and turn grapes into wine. These tiny organisms have been our companions for thousands of years. Without them, human civilization would have been very different. And yet, we hardly think of them at all. Think too of the great fungi of forests, whose underground networks connect trees for miles. Or of the glowing fungi that light up jungles at night with their soft green radiance. Or of the fungal spores drifting silently through the air, invisible yet countless. Each one is part of this kingdom that is not quite plant, not quite animal. As you breathe slowly now, imagine yourself standing at the crossroads of life's kingdoms. On one side, the stillness of plants. On the other, the movement of animals. And between them, fungi, the bridge, the hidden thread, the quiet kingdom. They remind us that life is not about choosing sides, but about existing in the in-between. There is a lesson here for us too. Often we try to label ourselves to fit into categories. But just like fungi, we are more complex than simple definitions. We are mixtures, bridges, continuums. And sometimes, the most powerful truths live in the spaces in between. The mystery of fungi's identity is also what makes them so fascinating to science. By studying fungi, researchers learn more about the origins of life itself. They ask questions like, why did fungi and animals split from a common ancestor? How do their similarities reveal our shared past? What secrets lie hidden in their ancient DNA? And still, there are more mysteries than answers. We do not know how many fungi exist. We do not know all their roles in ecosystems. We do not even fully understand how their vast underground networks communicate. Fungi are not just a kingdom, they are an ongoing puzzle, whispering to us across time. As you rest, let that mystery soothe you. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to fit into simple categories. You can rest in the in-between just as fungi do. Neither plant nor animal, but something beautifully unique. So as chapter 11 closes, picture a single mushroom rising in the twilight of a forest. To the tree beside it, it is not kin, but to you it is a quiet relative, distant yet connected. Beneath the soil, its threads weave into the roots, into the earth, into the cycles of life. Above the soil, its cap spreads, releasing spores into the air, carrying its story forward. This is the truth of fungi. They are bridges, connectors, beings of the in-between. Not quite plants, not quite animals, but part of the same great web of life, a web that includes you. Take a slow breath in and release it gently, like a sigh of wind through tall grass. Feel your body settle into stillness, while your imagination begins to wander into a world of strange forms and hidden beauty. The shapes of fungi. When you think of fungi, you might picture a mushroom, a stalk, a cap, perhaps a ring around its stem. But this is only one of the many shapes fungi can take. In truth, fungi are some of the most diverse and imaginative beings on Earth. Their forms are as varied as dreams, ranging from the tiniest cells to vast underground webs that span entire landscapes. Let us start with the simplest shapes, the single-celled fungi. These are the yeasts. They are small, round, and invisible to the naked eye, yet they have shaped human history. Yeasts transform flour into bread, grapes into wine, and barley into beer. In their tiny, unassuming forms lies a power that has nourished and inspired us for thousands of years. Imagine a single yeast cell smaller than a grain of dust, bubbling gently in a bowl of dough. Though you cannot see it, it is alive, transforming sugars into bubbles of gas, making bread rise. Small but mighty. Then there are the filamentous fungi, organisms that grow as endless threads. These threads, called hyphae, spread outward like roots, weaving into soil, wood, and stone. When hyphae intertwine, they form mycelium, the hidden body of most fungi. Picture them like vast, delicate networks, stretching invisibly beneath your feet, sometimes covering entire forests. Some mycelium networks are so large, they can spread across thousands of acres, making them the biggest living organisms on Earth. Now, imagine the forms that rise above ground, the mushrooms. These are the fruiting bodies of fungi, the visible expression of something much larger hidden below. Their shapes are astonishing in their variety. Some are the classic umbrella form, with a cap and stem. Others are puffballs releasing clouds of spores when touched. Still others are coral-like, branching in delicate spires or cup-shaped, holding spores in fragile bowls. There are fungi that glow in the dark, their caps radiating soft green light in forests at night. There are fungi shaped like delicate fans, layered on tree trunks. There are even fungi that take on bizarre forms, horns, stars, lattices, as if nature itself were experimenting with sculpture. Each form has a purpose, designed to release spores into the world in the most effective way. Close your eyes and imagine walking through a damp, ancient forest. All around you are the shapes of fungi, each one stranger than the last. Some rise tall and proud, others cling to fallen logs, others hide beneath leaves. Some are so delicate they seem made of glass, while others are thick and leathery, lasting for years. The ground is alive with variety, each shape a different voice in the chorus of life. But not all fungi create fruiting bodies. Some remain hidden, existing only as threads in the soil. Some form lichens, merging with algae to create new shapes, crusts, flakes, branching forms that cling to rocks and bark. Lichens can survive in places almost nothing else can, from deserts to frozen tundra, painting the world with subtle colors. There are also fungi that live inside plants, invisible to the eye. These endophytic fungi weave themselves through leaves and stems, offering protection in exchange for sugars. Their shapes are not mushrooms or networks we can see, but microscopic patterns hidden deep within. Even fungi that cause disease reveal strange shapes. The spores of certain fungi are built to cling to skin, to float on air, to survive in harsh environments. Some are round, some spiny, some shaped like tiny arrows, each form designed for survival. Scientists studying fungi under microscopes describe their shapes as otherworldly. Some spores look like jewels, with intricate patterns carved into their surfaces. Others look like tiny spacecraft ready to launch. To peer into this hidden world is to glimpse nature's imagination at play. The shapes of fungi are not just about beauty, they are about purpose. Each form is a solution to a challenge: how to spread, how to survive, how to endure. The umbrella shape of a mushroom cap helps release spores into the wind. The puffball's round body allows it to burst with a cloud of life. The branching coral fungi maximize surface area for spore production. Even the smallest yeast cell is perfectly shaped to divide and spread. As you breathe deeply now, think of your own life and the shapes it takes. Just as fungi adapt their forms to the world around them, so too do we. At times we may feel small, like a single cell. At times we may feel expansive, like a vast network reaching outward. Our lives shift and change shape, just as fungi do, always adapting, always creating. There is also something comforting in the thought that beauty does not need to be uniform. The shapes of fungi remind us that diversity is strength, that life thrives not in sameness, but in variety. Each form, no matter how strange, has a role. Each shape, no matter how unusual, has meaning. So, as you rest, let yourself imagine a forest filled with fungal shapes. Soft light filters through trees. The air is cool and damp. On the ground, mushrooms bloom like stars scattered across soil. On fallen logs, fan-shaped fungi spread in delicate layers. Beneath the surface, invisible threads weave an endless web. Around you, life takes 1,000 forms, all connected, all part of the same great cycle. And in this dreamlike forest, you realize the shapes of fungi are also the shapes of life itself. Varied, adaptive, mysterious, and beautiful. Chapter 12 reminds us that fungi are artists as well as survivors, sculptors of form across 1 billion years. Their shapes tell the story of patience, purpose, and diversity. As you drift into sleep, let these images settle in your mind. Delicate threads, glowing caps, branching corals, invisible spores. A kingdom of life expressing itself in countless forms, whispering of the endless creativity of nature. Take a gentle breath in and let it drift out slowly. Imagine yourself resting on a soft forest floor, the air cool and damp around you. Tonight, we step into one of the great mysteries of life's history. When did the first mushroom appear? We know fungi are ancient, older than forests, older than animals on land. But mushrooms, the fruiting bodies we recognize, came much later. For millions of years, fungi existed only as tiny threads, hidden and unseen. They spread silently through soil and stone, invisible to the human eye. But at some point in deep time, fungi learned a new trick to grow above the ground, to build fruiting bodies, to scatter spores into the wind with greater reach. And so the mushroom was born. But what did the first mushroom look like? This is a question that scientists still struggle to answer. Fossils are rare, for mushrooms are fragile things. They bloom briefly, then fade back into the earth. Their delicate tissues usually decay before they can be preserved in stone. And yet, a few precious fossils have been found, silent time capsules, whispering clues about the first mushrooms. One of the most mysterious fossils is called prototaxites. It lived about 400 million years ago, long before the first true trees. Prototaxites looked like giant stalks rising from the ground, some reaching up to 30 feet tall. For years, scientists argued over what they were: giant algae, strange plants, or something else entirely. Eventually, evidence revealed that they were likely fungi. Imagine that, towering fungal pillars dominating ancient landscapes, taller than anything else alive at the time. Were they mushrooms as we know them? Not exactly. They were more like colossal fungal trunks, strange and alien. But perhaps they were the ancestors of modern mushrooms, an early experiment in building fruiting bodies above the ground. Later fossils show more familiar forms. Small caps and stems preserved in amber, dating back around 100 million years, during the time of dinosaurs. These mushrooms look strikingly like the ones we see today. Delicate stalks topped with curved caps, gills hidden beneath, ready to release spores. To think that such a familiar shape existed while giant reptiles roamed the earth is humbling. Close your eyes and picture it. A lush Cretaceous forest. Ferns spread across the ground. Dinosaurs move in the distance, their footsteps shaking the earth. And at the base of a rotting log, unnoticed, a small mushroom rises. White, delicate, with gills hidden underneath. Fragile but enduring. The same shape you might see in your garden today, yet born in a world unimaginably different. The question of the first mushroom is not just about fossils, but about evolution. Why did fungi begin to grow fruiting bodies at all? The answer lies in survival. By building mushrooms above the ground, fungi could release their spores into the air more efficiently. The higher the cap, the farther the spores could drift. This simple adaptation gave them an enormous advantage. From hidden threads, they became visible architects of reproduction. And so, over millions of years, mushrooms took on countless forms. Puffballs that burst clouds of spores, bracket fungi that spread like shelves on tree trunks, delicate ink caps that dissolve into black liquid as they release their spores. Each form an experiment, an adaptation, a way of ensuring the continuation of life. As you breathe gently now, let yourself imagine these transformations. At first, only hidden threads beneath the soil. Then, small bumps rising above the ground. Then stalks and caps, strange shapes growing into the air. Slowly, the forest floor became alive with fungi in every form, each one scattering spores into the wind. There is something deeply moving about this hidden history. That a form so familiar, the mushroom, is the result of millions of years of quiet experimentation. That what we see today in fields and forests carries within it the memory of ancient worlds. The first mushroom, whenever it appeared, was not a single event, but a gradual unfolding. Evolution works slowly, testing, reshaping, refining. Just as fungi build soil grain by grain, they built the mushroom form step by step, until it became the extraordinary variety we see today. As you rest, think of the mushroom not just as food, or as decoration, but as a symbol. A reminder that what seems ordinary is often extraordinary. That beneath every simple form lies a deep and ancient story. That the mushroom you might pass by on a walk is a descendant of organisms that stood beside dinosaurs, that towered as pillars on the primeval earth, that have endured through extinctions and upheavals. The first mushroom is not just a fossil. It is also the one that rises today, in a quiet forest after rain. When you see its cap glistening with dew, when you brush its stem gently, you are touching something ancient, something timeless. The first mushroom is still with us in every fruiting body that blooms, then fades, then returns again. So as chapter 13 closes, let this image soothe you: a forest long ago, silent except for the rustle of ferns. A dinosaur moves in the distance, heavy and slow, and at your feet delicate mushrooms rise, unnoticed yet eternal. Their spores drift silently into the air, joining a cycle that began long before us and will continue long after. Breathe slowly, rest deeply. You are part of this same cycle, fleeting, fragile, yet connected to something endless. Take in a deep, gentle breath and release it slowly. Feel how the air moves through you, quiet, unseen, yet life-giving. Tonight, we explore how fungi, those ancient companions of life, are tied to the very breath of the forest. When you walk into a forest, you may notice the trees towering above, their leaves stretching toward the sky. You may notice the shade, the softness of the ground, the fragrance of damp earth. But there is something more, something invisible, that fills every corner of the woodland, the air itself, rich with the breath of countless organisms. Forests are sometimes called the lungs of the earth. They breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen, supporting animals like us who depend on each breath. But what we often forget is that fungi are part of this breath too, quiet, invisible contributors to the great cycle of gases that make life possible. How do fungi breathe? Unlike plants, they cannot make oxygen. Instead, fungi take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide, much like animals do. Their underground networks, their mycelium, are constantly exchanging gases with the soil and the air above. Though they are hidden, they are always breathing. A single patch of forest floor, alive with fungal threads, exhales a steady stream of carbon dioxide, which plants then take in to fuel their growth. In this way, fungi and plants form a perfect balance. Plants breathe in what fungi breathe out. Fungi breathe in what plants release. Together they weave the rhythm of the forest's air. Now, imagine walking into an ancient forest. The air feels different there, cooler, moister, heavier with life. Each breath you take carries not only oxygen from leaves, but also invisible spores drifting in the breeze, particles of fungi riding the currents. With every inhale, you are sharing the same air that trees and fungi have exchanged for millions of years. There is something deeply humbling in this. To breathe is not only to live, but to participate in a cycle that stretches back to the first forests, to the first partnerships between fungi and plants. Every breath is a reminder that we are not separate from the forest. We are part of its living exchange. The breath of the forest is more than gases. It is also the scent of decomposition, the fragrance of renewal. When leaves fall in autumn, fungi break them down, releasing carbon and nutrients into the air and soil. When wood rots, fungi exhale the memory of trees into the atmosphere. The smell of a damp woodland after rain, earthy, rich, grounding, is the forest breath, shaped by fungi's quiet work. Close your eyes and picture this: you are lying on soft soil, the canopy above shading you in dappled light. Around you, countless organisms are breathing: trees, fungi, animals, insects. You cannot see their breath, but you feel it all around you, the invisible tide of life moving in and out. You inhale, and the forest exhales. You exhale, and the forest inhales. You are part of this cycle, as natural and eternal as the wind. Scientists studying modern forests have discovered that fungi play an enormous role in regulating carbon. When fungi break down organic matter, they release carbon dioxide into the air. But at the same time, by recycling nutrients, they allow plants to grow stronger and store more carbon in their tissues. This balance, release and storage, exhale and inhale, keeps Earth's climate steady. Without fungi, the balance would collapse. Think for a moment of the Carboniferous period around 300 million years ago. Vast forests covered the earth, and fungi worked tirelessly beneath them, breaking down fallen wood and leaves. Yet at that time, one type of wood contained a compound that fungi had not yet evolved to digest: lignin. For millions of years, wood piled up, buried, and compressed. Eventually, it became coal, the black rock we burn today. The forest's breath was trapped underground, waiting to be released. It was fungi slowly evolving the ability to break down lignin that restored the balance, allowing the carbon cycle to flow freely once again. This story teaches us that fungi are not just participants in the forest's breath. They are guardians of it. They ensure that what dies returns, that what is released is balanced, that life continues in harmony. As you breathe slowly now, let yourself imagine your own body as part of this cycle. You breathe in oxygen, a gift from plants. You breathe out carbon dioxide, which fungi and trees use in return. Each breath you take is not only your own, but part of the great rhythm of life. You are inhaling the forest, and the forest is inhaling you. There is a deep peace in knowing this. You are not separate. You are not alone. With every breath, you are connected to trees, to fungi, to the soil, to the endless cycle of life on Earth. As chapter 14 closes, imagine once more the forest around you. The canopy sways gently in the breeze. Spores drift invisibly in the air. Mycelium spreads beneath the soil, exhaling steadily. The forest breathes, and you breathe with it. Together, you are part of the same timeless rhythm. Inhale, exhale, life continuing forever. Take a deep, quiet breath and let it drift away like a leaf carried on water. Allow your body to grow still as we explore another secret of fungi, their power to heal. Tonight we enter the chapter of medicines, gifts that fungi have carried within them since the earliest days of life. When we think of medicine, we often imagine modern laboratories, white coats, bottles, and pills. But long before humans studied chemistry, long before we even named medicine, fungi were already shaping the healing cycles of Earth. Within their hidden threads, they carried compounds that could protect, restore, and even save life. One of the most famous fungal medicines is penicillin, discovered only about a century ago. It came from a simple mold, penicillium. When scientists studied it, they realized it produced a chemical that killed bacteria. That discovery changed history. Penicillin became the first true antibiotic, saving millions of lives and opening the door to modern medicine. But here is the remarkable truth: fungi had been making penicillin for millions of years before humans noticed. They evolved these chemicals to defend themselves, to keep bacterial competitors away. For fungi, it was survival. For us, it became healing. Close your eyes and imagine this: a tiny mold growing on a piece of ancient wood long before humans existed. It is invisible to the wider world, but within its threads it is already producing molecules of defense. Those molecules drift through the wood, keeping bacteria at bay. No human knew it then. But within that mold was the power to save entire civilizations one day. And penicillin is not the only gift. Many fungi create compounds that heal. Aspergillus species gave us drugs to lower cholesterol. Claviceps purpurea, a fungus that infects grains, led to medicines that help during childbirth and to treatments for migraines. Ganoderma, the reishi mushroom, has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for thousands of years to boost health and longevity. Cordyceps, strange fungi that grow within insects, are prized in Tibet for their energy-giving properties. The list is long, and it continues to grow. Scientists now know that fungi produce thousands of chemicals, each one with unique effects. Some heal, some protect, some inspire. Even today, researchers are discovering new fungal medicines hidden in rainforests, caves, and soils around the world. But the story of fungi and medicine does not begin with humans. It begins deep in time, with fungi themselves. From their earliest ancestors, fungi learned to defend their fragile threads with powerful compounds. These chemicals were their shields, their voices, their tools of survival. And in giving to themselves, they eventually gave to us. Imagine an ancient forest floor. A fallen tree begins to rot. Bacteria swarm to feast on the wood. But here come the fungi, sending out their filaments, weaving through the cracks. To survive, they release chemicals that push the bacteria back, holding their ground. This silent battle is not one we can see, but it is happening everywhere. A microscopic war beneath our feet. From these quiet battles came the compounds that humans would one day call medicine. There is something beautiful in this, that what once served as a weapon for survival could become a gift of healing. That out of conflict came care. That fungi, simply by being themselves, offered remedies we would one day desperately need. As you breathe slowly now, imagine those hidden forests of long ago. Imagine the fungal threads weaving beneath the soil, carrying within them not only the power to decompose, but the power to heal. Picture those threads as glowing with unseen energy, tiny sparks of chemical light, waiting for their moment to be discovered, and let yourself feel reassured. Healing, like life itself, often comes from unexpected places, from mold on bread, from mushrooms in the woods, from ancient organisms whose quiet work shaped the earth. Humans, too, have always sensed this. Long before modern science, traditional cultures around the world used fungi as medicines. Indigenous peoples brewed teas from mushrooms to ease sickness. Shamans carried dried fungi as healing charms. In China and Japan, reishi and shiitake were honored as gifts of vitality. In Siberia, the fly agaric mushroom was used in rituals of vision and renewal. For thousands of years, people have looked to fungi not only for food, but for healing of body and spirit. The first medicines, then, were not made in laboratories. They were found in the forest, growing quietly on logs and soil. And fungi, patient as always, were the givers. There is a lesson here that sometimes healing comes not from force, but from quiet. Not from invention, but from discovery. The medicines were always there waiting. We only needed to notice them. As chapter 15 draws to a close, breathe deeply once more. Feel the air enter your lungs, bringing with it the gift of oxygen made possible by forests and fungi. Feel it leave your body, returning to the cycle of life. In your own breath lies healing, balance, and renewal. The same gifts fungi have offered to the earth since time began. So tonight, as you rest, let this thought comfort you. Hidden in the quiet corners of life are remedies you cannot yet see. Healing is always possible. Renewal is always waiting. And sometimes the smallest, most overlooked things, a spore, a thread, a fungus growing unseen, carry within them the power to save the world. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. Feel your body grow heavier, as if you are sinking into the forest floor itself. Tonight, we will dream of something hidden, something vast, something older than time yet always alive beneath our feet, the mycelium. Most people, when they think of fungi, imagine mushrooms, the colorful caps after rain, the strange shapes that rise from soil or wood. But the mushroom is only a small part of the fungus, a brief and fleeting fruit, here one day, gone the next. The true body of fungi, the part that lasts and endures. Mycelium is made of countless thin threads, called hyphae. Each thread is delicate, finer than a strand of hair, but together they weave into vast networks that spread through soil, through wood, through stone. They bind the earth together. They feed the forests. They are the hidden web beneath all life. Close your eyes and picture this. You are walking in a quiet woodland after rain. The ground is soft, rich with fallen leaves. You kneel and press your hand to the soil. Beneath your palm, though you cannot see it, mycelium is there, stretching in every direction, endless and intricate. It glows in your imagination like threads of silver light, weaving a web of life beneath the surface. This web is unimaginably vast. In one handful of healthy soil, there may be miles of fungal threads, and in some places mycelium networks stretch for hundreds, even thousands of acres, making them the largest living organisms on Earth. Imagine a single fungus covering an entire forest floor, unseen yet alive, its mycelium spreading outward for centuries. But mycelium is not only vast, it is alive with purpose. Its threads explore the world, seeking food, wrapping around roots, digesting fallen leaves. Each filament is a seeker, an explorer, reaching into the unknown, and when it finds what it needs, a pocket of nutrients, a drop of water, a root in need, it shares what it has with the network. Mycelium is the great recycler. It breaks down what is dead and turns it into nourishment for what is living. It is also the great connector. Through mycorrhizal partnerships, mycelium links the roots of trees and plants together. Nutrients flow through these threads like whispers, moving from one organism to another. Some call this the wood wide web, a living internet beneath our feet. Imagine two trees in a forest far apart. One stands in the sunlight, strong and full of energy. The other is shaded, struggling in the dark. Through the mycelium, the strong tree can share sugars with the weaker one, keeping it alive. The network ensures balance. It is as though the forest itself is a single body, with fungi as its veins, carrying sustenance where it is needed most. There is wisdom in this. Mycelium teaches us that survival is not about isolation, but about connection. That strength comes from sharing. That communities thrive not when each stands alone, but when all are linked together, giving and receiving in harmony. Now let yourself imagine becoming smaller still. until you are the size of a grain of dust. You drift downward past fallen leaves into the soil. Around you stretch glowing threads of mycelium, weaving like constellations in the dark. They hum with quiet energy, pulsing with the rhythm of life. You walk along one thread, and it feels like a shining path beneath your feet. Branching filaments spread out like rivers, carrying the memory of forests, the nourishment of ages. You realize you are not walking on dead earth at all, but on a living web that connects everything together. This dream of mycelium is not just imagination. Science has shown that fungi help plants communicate. Some plants release chemical signals into the mycelium when they are attacked by pests. The signal travels through the web, and nearby plants respond by producing defenses, as if warned by their neighbors. The forest speaks through fungi. As you breathe slowly now, think of your own life as a web of connections. The people you love, the memories you carry, the places you belong, each is like a thread, linking you to something larger. Just as trees are connected by mycelium, you are connected by relationships, by kindness, by shared experience. You are part of a network greater than yourself. And the mycelium itself reminds us of resilience. If one thread is cut, another will grow. If one path is blocked, the network will find another way. It is always reaching, always adapting, always alive. Just as fungi endure through storms and seasons, so too can we endure. There is also a dreamlike beauty in the way mycelium spreads. It is fractal, branching endlessly, like the veins in leaves, the rivers on earth, the neurons in our brains, even the galaxies in the universe. Everywhere we look, we see the same pattern: networks, connections, threads. Mycelium is part of this cosmic design, a reminder that life, at every scale, is woven together. As chapter 16 closes, imagine yourself lying in the forest, drifting into sleep. Beneath you, mycelium spreads endlessly, carrying the breath of the forest, recycling what has fallen, connecting what still grows. You are resting not just on soil, but on a living web, timeless, patient, eternal. Breathe in and feel the forest inhale with you. Breathe out and feel the mycelium carry your breath into the earth. You are part of this network, part of this dream, part of the hidden web of life. Take in a slow, calm breath, hold it for a moment, and let it flow out softly, like mist rising from the forest floor. Let your body melt into stillness as we step into one of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring truths of fungi, their silent network. When we walk through a forest, it feels peaceful and quiet. We hear birdsong, the rustling of leaves, perhaps the trickle of a stream. What we do not hear, what we cannot see, is the constant communication happening beneath our feet. Through the threads of fungi, the mycelium, the forest is alive with whispers. This underground web, often called the wood wide web, is one of nature's greatest wonders. Through it, trees and plants are linked together in ways we are only beginning to understand. Roots connect to fungal threads, and those threads connect to other roots, weaving a vast network across the forest floor. What one tree feels, another may sense. What one tree shares, another may receive. It is a network without wires, without voices, without sound. It is silent, and yet it carries information, energy, and life. Close your eyes and imagine this. You are standing in a forest. Sunlight falls gently through the canopy. You kneel and place your hand upon the soil. Beneath your palm, though you cannot see it, countless fungal threads are carrying signals. A tree far away, thirsty for water, may be sending a message through the mycelium. Another tree, full of sugars, may be sending food to its shaded neighbors. The forest is alive with silent conversation. Scientists have discovered that through fungal networks, trees can share nutrients. A tall, strong tree in the sunlight may send carbon through the mycelium to a younger sapling struggling in the shade. An old, dying tree may release what remains of its stored energy into the network, feeding the next generation. It is as if the forest has its own economy of generosity, all made possible by fungi. And the network does not only carry food, it carries warnings. When a plant is attacked by insects, it can release chemical signals into the mycelium. These signals travel underground, reaching other plants, which then prepare their defenses before the threat arrives. It is like a silent alarm system, hidden beneath the soil. This is the power of the fungal network to connect, to share, to protect, all without a sound. As you breathe slowly now, Imagine yourself shrinking smaller and smaller until you are walking among the threads of the mycelium itself. They stretch in every direction, glowing softly. Like silver lines in the dark, you place your hand upon one thread and you feel a pulse, information traveling, nutrients flowing, life being shared. You realize you are inside the forest's nervous system, a hidden web that keeps everything connected. There is something profoundly calming in this image, to know that even when we feel alone, we are part of networks too. Just as trees are linked by fungi, we are linked by invisible threads of kindness, memory, and community. Our own networks, of family, of friends, of love, may be silent, but they sustain us. The silence of the fungal network is also a kind of wisdom. Fungi do not shout. They do not rush. Their communication is slow, steady, patient. It reminds us that not all connection needs noise, that sometimes the deepest bonds are the quietest ones. Think of the way the internet connects humans today, carrying messages across the globe. Now imagine a much older internet, millions of years older, stretching beneath every forest. It does not use wires or satellites, but living threads. It does not send words or pictures, but nutrients and signals. And it has been working quietly since long before humans even existed. Some scientists believe that these fungal networks make forests behave almost like a single organism. Each tree is not alone, but part of a greater whole. Each life is tied to the others. Death feeds new growth. Strength supports weakness. The silent network ensures balance. As you rest deeper, imagine yourself as one of the trees in this forest. Your roots touch the soil, and through the fungi, you are linked to others. You feel their presence, their energy, their whispers flowing into you. You send your own strength outward in return. You are not isolated. You are part of a family, connected through silence. This is what fungi remind us, that connection need not be seen or heard to be real. That what binds us is often invisible, but no less powerful. In your own life, there are silent networks too. The ways people care for you, even from afar. The memories of those who came before, shaping who you are now. The love that flows through gestures too small to notice. These too are threads of a silent network, one that supports you unseen but always there. And so, as chapter 17 closes, picture once more the forest in twilight. The air is still, the trees stand quietly, and beneath your feet the mycelium hums with silent life. Nutrients pass, the forest breathes as one, and you too are part of that great network, a thread in the endless web of life. Breathe in slowly, as if inhaling the calm of the forest. Breathe out gently, as if releasing your own strength back into the network. Feel yourself connected, supported, part of something vast, timeless, and silent. Take a deep breath in, let it out slowly. Feel yourself drifting further back in time, into the long memory of the earth. Tonight, we explore another truth about fungi, their role as ancient survivors, beings that have endured through storms, disasters, and extinctions, never disappearing, always adapting. Fungi are among the oldest life forms on this planet. Their ancestors appeared more than 1 billion years ago, long before animals set foot on land, long before flowers bloomed, long before forests reached toward the sky, and through all that time fungi have survived. They have endured ice ages and firestorms. They have persisted through mass extinctions that wiped out countless other species. Imagine the Earth at its darkest hours, volcanoes filling the skies with ash, continents colliding, oceans rising and falling. Through it all, fungi remained. They are nature's quiet survivors, thriving in places others cannot. One of the most powerful examples comes from the end of the age of dinosaurs, about 66 million years ago. A massive asteroid struck the Earth, releasing energy greater than any weapon humanity could imagine. Forests burned, skies darkened with dust. Sunlight disappeared for months, perhaps years. Plants withered. The dinosaurs, rulers of the Earth for over 150 million years, vanished. And yet, fungi flourished. Why? Because fungi do not depend on sunlight. While plants and animals struggled in a darkened world, fungi could feed on what remained. The fallen trees, the dead plants, the bodies of animals. They recycled death into life, sustaining themselves while the rest of the planet collapsed. Fossil evidence shows a surge in fungal spores during this time, a sign that fungi filled the earth when other life faltered. In a world of ash and silence, they endured. This is one of fungi's greatest strengths: adaptability. They can live in places too hot, too cold, too dry, or too dark for most organisms. They thrive in deserts, in frozen tundra, in the depths of caves. Scientists have even found fungi growing on the walls of nuclear reactors, feeding on radiation. Wherever life seems impossible, fungi find a way. As you breathe slowly now, let yourself feel the quiet resilience of fungi. Imagine their threads weaving through ancient soil, unaffected by catastrophe, patient and steady. Imagine their spores drifting silently, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Imagine their persistence across millions of years, enduring what others could not. There is a lesson here for us too, that survival is not always about strength or speed. Sometimes it is about patience, flexibility, and persistence. Fungi remind us that even when everything around us changes, even when the world seems harsh and uncertain, it is possible to endure. Consider the ice ages. As glaciers spread across continents, reshaping the land, many species perished. But fungi adapted. Some grew beneath the ice, breaking down what little organic matter remained. Others survived in warmer refuges, ready to spread again when the world thawed. They adjusted, quietly continuing, never giving up their place in the cycle. Close your eyes and picture yourself traveling through time, watching the earth change. You see seas rising and falling, mountains forming, forests burning, creatures appearing and vanishing. Through it all, fungi are there, small, humble, hidden. Their threads weave through soil, their spores drift through air, their fruiting bodies rise and fade. They never vanish, they never surrender. They are always part of life's story. Even today, fungi remind us of their resilience. They are found in space stations clinging to the walls, surviving in the most unnatural environments. Scientists wonder if fungi might even survive on other planets, spreading life beyond Earth. If we ever journey to Mars, it may be fungi that go with us, building soil, recycling waste, sustaining human colonies. Fungi are ancient survivors not just in time, but in spirit. They endure by embracing change. They do not resist decay. They embrace it, turning it into growth. They do not fear endings. They transform them into beginnings. This is their secret, the reason they have lasted for 1 billion years. As you drift deeper into rest, imagine the calm strength of fungi flowing into you. Imagine yourself as a spore, drifting through storms and darkness, patient, unafraid. Imagine yourself as mycelium, weaving quietly through obstacles, always finding a way. The story of fungi's survival is also the story of renewal. After every catastrophe, they help rebuild the world. After the asteroid struck, fungi cleared the wreckage, creating space for new forests. After ice ages ended, they prepared soil for plants to return. They are not just survivors, they are restorers. They take what is broken and make it whole again. There is comfort in this. Even when life feels uncertain, even when we feel fragile, we can remember fungi. They have endured far worse, and yet they persist. They whisper to us across time, you too can survive. You too can renew. As chapter 18 closes, imagine the earth in darkness after the asteroids strike. The skies are heavy with ash. The land is silent, but beneath the surface fungi spread, glowing softly in your imagination, recycling, rebuilding, enduring. And from that quiet persistence, new life will rise. So rest now, with the strength of ancient survivors in your heart. Breathe in resilience. Breathe out patience. Know that you are part of a story that endures, no matter how dark the night. Take a deep, quiet breath in and release it slowly. Let your mind grow soft, open, ready to drift into the unknown. Tonight, we step into mystery, the part of fungi's story that remains hidden, unanswered, still unfolding. For all that we know about fungi, their partnerships with plants, their role in building soil, their healing medicines, their vast networks beneath forests, there is even more that we do not know. Fungi are one of the most mysterious kingdoms of life. They are everywhere, yet largely unseen. They are ancient, yet still full of secrets. Scientists estimate there may be millions of species of fungi on Earth, perhaps as many as 6 million, and yet we have only identified and studied around 150,000. This means the vast majority remain unknown, hidden in forests, mountains, oceans, deserts, even in the air around us. Imagine it, the world is teeming with fungal life we have not yet discovered. Shapes, colors, powers, and possibilities waiting quietly in the shadows. Close your eyes and imagine a forest at night. You shine a light along the forest floor, and you see mushrooms you recognize. A puffball, a cluster of tiny caps, a bracket fungus on a log. But just beyond your sight, in places you cannot reach, countless more species wait unseen. Some glow faintly in the dark, some live entirely underground, some are too small to see without a microscope. You realize the forest is alive with mysteries, all breathing quietly around you. Even the fungi we know hold secrets. Mycelium, that vast underground web, is still not fully understood. How exactly do signals travel through fungal threads? How do fungi decide where to send nutrients or which tree to support? Is there intention in their networks or only chemistry? These are questions science has not yet answered. The fossil record, too, is incomplete. We know fungi are at least 1 billion years old, but we do not know exactly what the first fungus looked like. We do not know precisely when mushrooms began to rise above the soil. We only glimpse fragments, tiny fossils, rare impressions, mysterious traces in ancient rock. The rest is silence. The rest is imagination. And then there are fungi's powers. Some can survive in boiling hot springs. Others endure freezing glaciers. Some feed on radiation, thriving in places deadly to most life. Could fungi hold secrets about surviving in space? Could they be the key to building soil on other planets, helping humans settle new worlds? These questions remain unanswered, part of the deep mystery of fungi. As you breathe gently now, let yourself rest in the unknown. You do not need all the answers. You do not need certainty. The mystery itself can be a comfort. Just as fungi thrive in the unseen, so too can we find peace in what is hidden. There is also mystery in the way humans and fungi are connected. For thousands of years, people have used mushrooms in rituals, medicines, and myths. Some fungi inspire visions, opening doors to strange and dreamlike states. Shamans and healers across cultures saw fungi as bridges between worlds, between life and death, between the seen and unseen. Even today, scientists study psychedelic mushrooms to understand how they can heal the mind, ease anxiety, or bring peace to those facing death. Here again, fungi hold mysteries we are only beginning to touch. The mystery remains not because fungi are hiding from us, but because they are vast beyond comprehension. They remind us that life is always larger than what we see, always deeper than what we know. For every discovery, there are more questions. For every answer, a dozen new doors open. And perhaps that is the point. To live with fungi is to live with mystery, to accept that not all things must be explained. That wonder itself is a form of knowledge. Imagine yourself now lying on the forest floor in twilight. Around you, mushrooms rise like lanterns, their caps glistening with dew. Beneath you, mycelium threads glow in your imagination, weaving endlessly through the soil. Above you, spores drift silently in the air, invisible yet countless. You realize you are surrounded by life you cannot fully see, cannot fully know, and that is beautiful. The mystery of fungi teaches us humility. We are not the center of life's story. We are part of a much larger web when we cannot fully understand. The hidden kingdoms, the silent networks, the unseen spores, all remind us that the world is greater than our vision. As chapter 19 closes, breathe deeply once more. Let the mystery settle around you like a soft blanket. You do not need to solve it. You only need to rest within it. The fungi remain, ancient, patient, hidden. Their secrets are safe, waiting for the slow unfolding of time. And as you drift into sleep, you join them in silence, resting in the unknown, carried by the mystery of life itself. Take a slow, steady breath in, and let it flow out like a river moving toward the sea. Tonight, we arrive at the final chapter of our story, a chapter not of endings, but of rest. For the story of fungi does not end. It stretches backward into the ancient past and forward into the distant future. To rest with fungi is to rest with the ancients, to feel the quiet presence of beings that have endured for over 1 billion years. When you close your eyes and imagine the first fungus, you are not only imagining the past, you are touching something eternal. The fungi that exist today are descendants of those earliest pioneers. Their spores carry echoes of the first oceans. Their mycelium threads carry the memory of the first soils. Their mushrooms carry the shape of ages long gone. To sit with fungi is to sit with the ancients. Imagine yourself lying on soft earth beneath a great forest. The air is cool, filled with the scent of moss and leaves. All around you, trees stand tall, their roots intertwined with fungal threads. Beneath the soil, mycelium spreads in every direction, weaving the forest into one great body. As you breathe, you feel your breath join the rhythm of the forest, inhaling and exhaling as one. The ancients are here, not in statues or ruins, but in the living threads beneath you. Every handful of soil contains their memory. Every spore drifting in the air carries their story. You are not separate from them. You are part of them, as they are part of you. For fungi are not just old, they are timeless. They existed before flowers, before birds, before mammals. They will exist long after us, carrying the cycles of life forward. When forests fall, fungi recycle them into soil. When animals die, fungi return them to the earth. When life seems to end, fungi begin again. They are the keepers of eternity, the guardians of renewal. Close your eyes and let yourself feel that eternity. Imagine billions of years unfolding like waves. You see the first oceans shimmering with microscopic life. You see fungi drifting invisibly, spreading their spores. You see them breaking down stone into soil, weaving threads around roots, supporting the rise of forests. You see them enduring through ice and fire, through extinctions and upheavals. And now you see them here. Beneath you, still alive, still working, still patient. There is peace in knowing that you are held by such ancient company. The fungi remind us that life is never truly gone. It is transformed, recycled, renewed. Just as leaves fall and return as soil, just as fallen trees feed new seedlings, so too are we part of this endless cycle. To rest with fungi is to rest with the knowledge that nothing is wasted, nothing is lost, everything belongs. As you breathe slowly now, imagine spores drifting around you, soft as snow, invisible but countless. They land gently on the soil, on leaves, on water. Some will vanish, but some will grow, beginning new life. This is the rhythm of existence. Endings becoming beginnings, silence becoming song, death becoming life. The ancients whisper to us not through words, but through presence. Their patience is a reminder. Their persistence is a lesson. Their mystery is an invitation. You do not need to rush. You do not need to understand everything. You only need to rest, to trust that you are part of the same great web. Perhaps this is why fungi appear so often in human myths. Some cultures saw mushrooms as gifts from the gods, rising overnight like miracles. Others saw them as doorways to other realms, carriers of visions and dreams. To eat a mushroom was to taste the wisdom of the ancients. To walk among them was to walk in sacred company. Even today, when we step into a forest after rain and see mushrooms glistening in the light, we feel a sense of wonder, as if we are being reminded of something we once knew long ago. And so, as this final chapter draws to a close, let yourself rest deeply. Imagine that you are lying in the oldest forest on earth. Around you, trees rise like cathedrals. Above you, stars shimmer like spores drifting in the night sky. Beneath you, mycelium spreads endlessly, a living web carrying the memory of ages. You are safe here. You are home here. You are resting with the ancients. Breathe in their patience. Breathe out your worries. Breathe in their endurance. Breathe out your burdens. Breathe in their eternity. Breathe out into peace. The story of fungi is not over. It never will be. It flows onward through soil and forests, through cycles of life and death, through every breath we take. To rest with fungi is to rest with the earth itself, timeless and eternal. Sleep now, with the ancients beside you. Sleep knowing you are part of their web. Sleep knowing that you too are eternal.